Alden receives an anonymous message that leads him to a hidden section of the city where echoes of the past are alive. Hello there. My name is Alden, and I'm speaking to you from the year 2350. I know that sounds impossible, but bear with me. I'm what we call a virtual historian here in Singapore, though that title feels more like a cruel joke these days than an actual profession. You see, my job is supposed to be preserving the truth of human experience, documenting how people like you lived, loved, struggled, and dreamed in your time. But here's the thing that keeps me awake during our artificial night cycles. Everything I'm allowed to show people has been sanitized, filtered, and edited by the Cultural Harmony Board until it's barely recognizable as real human experience. Imagine trying to explain what chocolate tastes like, but you're only allowed to describe it as a brown nutritional supplement. That's what my work has become. When I create immersive historical experiences about your era, the early 21st century, I have to remove all the messy, beautiful, painful parts that made you human. No political conflicts that might create division. No economic struggles that might promote discontent. No passionate love affairs that might encourage emotional instability. Just yesterday, I submitted a reconstruction of a typical family dinner from 2024. Do you know what got flagged? The argument between a teenager and her parents about staying out late. The board said it portrayed intergenerational conflict in a potentially harmful light. So now, in the official version, families from your time apparently only ever had pleasant conversations about approved topics like weather patterns and nutritional choices. I was sitting in my workspace this morning, staring at another rejection notice. This time for including actual footage of people crying at a wedding because excessive emotional display might trigger psychological instability in viewers when something extraordinary happened. A message appeared on my personal neural interface, not through official channels. Mind you, this came through an encrypted pathway I didn't even know existed. The message was simple. The real history lives in Sector 7 underground. Tonight, follow the sound of genuine laughter. My hands were actually trembling as I read those words. Genuine laughter. When was the last time I'd heard that? In our controlled environment, even laughter is modulated to prevent it from becoming disruptive or excessive. But genuine laughter? The kind that erupts from real joy, real connection, real human experience? I couldn't even remember. The message dissolved after 30 seconds, leaving no trace in my system logs. Whoever sent it knew exactly how to bypass our monitoring protocols. Part of me, the cautious part that's kept me employed and out of the re-education centers, wanted to delete any memory of receiving it. But the historian in me, the part that became fascinated by your era precisely because of its raw authenticity, couldn't let it go. Sector 7 Underground isn't supposed to exist. According to city planning records, that entire area was sealed off decades ago after the Great Restructuring. But as I walked through the sterile corridors of our residential district that evening, past the perfectly maintained hydroponic gardens and the softly glowing mood regulation panels, I couldn't stop thinking about that message. You have to understand, in my world, spontaneity is almost extinct. Every interaction is predicted, every emotion is monitored, every experience is curated for optimal social harmony. But this message felt different. It felt dangerous. And for the first time in years, that danger felt like hope. So tonight, I'm going to follow those directions. I'm going to find Sector 7 Underground and discover what genuine laughter sounds like in a world that's forgotten how to be genuinely human. Because if there's even a chance that somewhere in this sanitized future, real history, your history, is being kept alive in all its messy, beautiful, painful truth, then I have to find it, even if it costs me everything. The maintenance tunnels beneath New Geneva smell like ozone and forgotten time. I'm telling you this because in your era, you still had smells that meant something. The scent of rain on concrete, coffee brewing in the morning, the particular mustiness of old books. Here, most odors are filtered out before they can reach us, deemed unnecessary for optimal living conditions. But down here, 20 meters below the city's pristine surface, the air tastes metallic and real. My hands are shaking as I follow the cryptic directions from that message. Turn left at junction C7. Descend 2 levels. Follow the blue maintenance stripe for exactly 847 steps. Whoever wrote those instructions knew these tunnels intimately. The emergency lighting casts everything in a sickly amber glow, and my footsteps echo in ways that make me constantly look over my shoulder. I keep asking myself what I'm doing down here. In your time, people talked about following your gut or trusting your instincts. We've been taught that such impulses are primitive, unreliable. But something in that message, maybe it was the phrase, genuine laughter, or the way it appeared and vanished so precisely, it felt like a lifeline thrown to a drowning man. The deeper I go, the more the architecture changes. The smooth, curved walls of our modern infrastructure give way to older construction, rough concrete, and exposed metal beams that must date back to your century. It's like traveling backward through time, layer by layer, until I'm walking through the bones of the old world. At step 843, I hear it. Laughter. Not the measured, appropriate chuckling we're trained to produce during social interactions, but something wild and unrestrained. It's coming from behind a heavy steel door marked with warning symbols I don't recognize. My neural implant is screaming warnings about unauthorized access and potential safety violations, but I override them all. The door isn't locked. It swings open with a groan that would have triggered noise complaints in any residential sector. And suddenly I'm standing at the top of a metal staircase looking down into something impossible. It's an arena, not the sterile competition spaces we use for approved recreational activities, but something raw and chaotic. Hundreds of people, and I use that word deliberately because they look more human than anyone I've seen in years, are packed on a makeshift bleachers surrounding a circular space where something extraordinary is happening. In the center, I can see figures moving, but they're not quite solid. Holographic projections, but more vivid and detailed than anything our entertainment systems produce. And the crowd, they're shouting, cheering, some are crying. Real tears. When was the last time I saw someone cry from emotion rather than medical necessity? A woman next to me notices my confusion. She's maybe 40, with lines around her eyes that speak of actual expression rather than age prevention treatments. First time? She asks, and her voice has a roughness to it that's almost musical. I nod, not trusting my voice. You picked a good night, she continues, gesturing toward the arena floor. They're running the liberation of Paris, August 1944. No censorship, no historical revision, just the way it really happened. My breath catches. In our approved historical records, wars are sanitized events with clear moral lessons and minimal emotional content. But what I'm seeing below, the joy on people's faces, the complexity of their reactions, this is something entirely different. How is this possible? I whisper. She smiles, and it's the first genuine smile I've seen in months. Some things are too important to let die, even if they're illegal, especially if they're illegal. The woman extends her hand to me, and I notice her fingers are stained with what looks like ink. Actual ink, not the sterile digital traces we use for everything now. I'm Rhea, she says, and when I take her hand, her grip is firm, calloused. Real work has shaped those hands. Alden, I manage, still mesmerized by the scene unfolding below us. Watch this part, she whispers, leaning closer. I can smell something on her. Not the regulation floral scent everyone wears, but something earthier. Sweat, maybe mixed with something I can't identify. It's strangely comforting. The holographic figures in the arena suddenly burst into motion. French resistance fighters emerge from shadowy alleyways, their faces etched with determination and fear. But here's what strikes me most. They look afraid. Actually afraid. In our sanitized history lessons, heroes are always confident, always sure of their cause. These people are terrified, and they're fighting anyway. A young woman, maybe 20, clutches a rifle with shaking hands. Her companion, a boy who can't be older than 17, whispers something to her in French. The translation appears in my mind. Our neural implants still work here, apparently, but it's not the clean, proper French we learn in cultural studies. It's rough, desperate. If we die today, at least we die free. The crowd around us erupts. Not the polite applause of our cultural events, but raw, primal cheering. A man 3 rows down is sobbing openly, his shoulders shaking. An elderly woman clutches her neighbor's arm, so tightly, I can see her knuckles white even from here. Why are they so? I start to ask Rhea, but she shushes me gently. Because they're feeling what those people felt, she explains, her eyes never leaving the arena. The algorithms that run these projections, they're not just showing us what happened. They're channeling the actual emotional resonance of the moment. The fear, the hope, the desperation. Everything our history books strip away. Below us, German soldiers round a corner, their boots echoing against cobblestones that somehow sound real despite being made of light. The young resistance fighter raises her rifle, and I can see her hands trembling. When she fires, the sound doesn't come through our audio systems. It comes from somewhere deeper, somewhere that makes my chest tighten and my heart race. This is illegal, I ask, though I already know the answer. Rhea nods, her expression darkening. Unauthorized emotional content. Unfiltered historical data. Gathering without proper permits. She pauses, watching as the holographic Parisians celebrate in the streets below, their joy so infectious that even I find myself smiling. They shut down 3 venues last month, arrested everyone they could identify. The scene shifts, and suddenly we're watching American GIs sharing chocolate with French children. But these aren't the noble, clean-cut soldiers from our approved media. These men are dirty, exhausted, some are crying with relief. One soldier, barely older than the resistance boy, sits on a curb and just stares at his hands, overwhelmed by what he survived. The emotional resonance algorithms, Rhea continues, they were developed for therapeutic purposes originally, to help people process trauma by experiencing historical resilience. But the Cultural Wellness Board decided they were too intense, too unpredictable. A child in the projection runs up to one of the soldiers, chattering excitedly in French. The soldier doesn't understand the words, but he understands a joy, and his face transforms. Around us, the crowd mirrors that transformation. I feel it too, this strange, warm sensation spreading through my chest. Is this what happiness used to feel like? This overwhelming, uncontrolled surge of emotion? They're going to shut this down too, Rhea says quietly. Next week, maybe sooner. The Wellness Enforcement Division has been asking questions in the neighborhood. The weight of that hits me harder than I expected. All of this raw, beautiful, terrifying human experience will be gone, erased. The people around me will return to their regulated lives, their carefully modulated emotions, their sanitized understanding of what it means to be human. Then why do you keep coming? I ask her. She turns to look at me fully for the first time, and her eyes are bright with unshed tears. Because someone has to remember what we really were, she says. Before we decided that feeling too much was dangerous. The projection flickers and fades, leaving us in the dim amber glow of the arena's emergency lighting. Around me, people begin to move with the slow, reluctant movements of those waking from a profound dream. I watch a woman in her 60s wipe tears from her cheeks with shaking hands, while beside her, a young man stares at the empty space where the liberation scene had played out, his mouth slightly open as if he's still processing what authentic joy feels like. Rhea stands beside me, and I can feel the tension radiating from her small frame. She's scanning the crowd, counting faces, memorizing details with the desperate intensity of someone who knows she's witnessing something that will soon be lost forever. 43 tonight, she murmurs, more to herself than to me. Last week we had 67. Word is spreading, but so is the fear. I understand that fear now, having felt what these historical moments can do to you. The Cultural Wellness Board didn't ban emotional resonance algorithms because they were ineffective. They banned them because they worked too well. They reminded us of what we'd given up in exchange for stability. They made us question whether a life without the possibility of profound suffering was worth living if it also meant a life without the possibility of profound joy. The Wellness Enforcement Division, I say, testing the words. What exactly will they do when they find this place? Rhea's laugh is bitter. Memory wipes for the participants. Neural restructuring to remove what they call emotional contamination. For me, she shrugs, but I can see the fear in her eyes. Probably full personality reconstruction. I've been flagged as a repeat offender. This isn't my first underground archive. The casual way she says it chills me. In your time, people fought and died for the right to remember history as it actually happened. Here in 2350, simply feeling that history too deeply has become a crime. The irony isn't lost on me. We've become so afraid of the mistakes of the past that we've made forgetting them our greatest mistake. As the crowd begins to disperse, I notice something else. They're not leaving in the hurried, guilty manner I'd expect from people participating in an illegal gathering. Instead, they move with a kind of quiet dignity, their faces still reflecting the emotional journey they've just experienced. A middle-aged man helps an elderly woman navigate the uneven floor, their movements gentle and considerate in a way that feels almost foreign after months of observing the efficient but cold interactions of regulated society. They come back, Rhea says, following my gaze. Even knowing the risks, they come back. Because once you've felt what authentic human emotion can do to you, the regulated alternatives feel like living in a gray fog. I think about my own journey to this place, how it started with simple curiosity about a historical footnote, and led me to question everything I thought I knew about our society's path to perfection. The arena isn't just preserving historical events. It's preserving the full spectrum of human experience that we've systematically edited out of our lives. How long have you been doing this? I ask Rhea as we watch the last of the participants disappear up the maintenance tunnel. 3 years, she says, beginning to power down the projection equipment with practiced efficiency. Started right after they shut down the last public historical archive that included unfiltered emotional content. I was a researcher there, specialized in trauma recovery through historical empathy. When they decided that helping people process their pain by connecting with historical resilience was psychologically destabilizing, I knew I had to preserve the work somehow. Her hands move across the control panels with the reverence of someone handling sacred artifacts. And perhaps that's exactly what these machines are, the last repositories of our complete emotional heritage, hidden away like forbidden relics in the underground spaces of our sanitized world. The shutdown notice came through official channels yesterday. She continues, her voice steady despite the magnitude of what she's telling me. Anonymous tip, they said. Someone reported irregular emotional readings in this sector. We have maybe 48 hours before they trace the source. The weight of impending loss settles over me like a physical thing. All of this, the raw power of unfiltered history, the community of people brave enough to feel deeply, the technology that could help humanity reconnect with its full emotional range, will be erased as if it never existed. The participants will return to their regulated lives, their memories of authentic feeling gradually fading under the influence of mandatory wellness treatments. But as I look around the arena one last time, I realize something has changed in me. The fear is still there, but it's accompanied by something else, a fierce, protective anger that surprises me with its intensity. This place, these people, this preservation of human truth, it matters in a way that transcends individual safety or comfort. What if we didn't let them shut it down? I hear myself saying, the words emerging before I fully formed the thought. Rhea stops her shutdown sequence and turns to look at me. What do you mean? I mean, what if instead of hiding and hoping they don't find us, we made sure people knew what they were about to lose? What if we documented everything, not just the historical events, but the human responses to them? The transformation that happens when people connect with their full emotional heritage. For the first time since I've known her, Rhea smiles. Not the careful, regulated expression approved by the Wellness Board, but something wild and hopeful and completely authentic. You're talking about resistance, she says. Real resistance, not just preservation. I nod, feeling something crystallize inside me that I've never experienced before. Purpose, maybe, or simply the recognition that some things are worth fighting for, even when the odds seem impossible. I'm talking about reminding people what it means to be fully human, I say, before we forget entirely.